Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Please remember to like and subscribe. The town of little people, big world is humming with rumors, indignation, and 1,000 unsolved mysteries. A shocking report has reached us from people close to the production process. According to a story, the adored matriarch of the Roloff family, Amy Roloff, experienced a terrible medical emergency while filming recently. Amy was rushed to the hospital after a quick, terrifying breakdown on set left crew members scrambling. However, that is just the start of this tale. Not only what happened to Amy, but also what her husband Marek was doing during those crucial minutes is the true scandal and the question that is igniting a firestorm online. Where were Chris's eyes as Amy's world descended into darkness? According to the unsettling rumors we're hearing, they weren't on. His spouse. His phone had them glued to it. Was Mark blind to the warning? Did he miss Amy's cries for assistance because he was so engrossed in his own world? Or is this apparently contented marriage hiding something deeper and darker, something much more complicated? This is not merely a summary. This is an inquiry. We'll dissect this tragedy, examine unique possibilities, and examine the data that indicates this collapse might have been the breakdown. Time in a relationship that is already under a lot of strain. We need your assistance though, before we dive into the dramatic minute-by-minute analysis of that tragic day. Fans that demand the complete story and see past the edited episodes belong to this channel. Do me a favor and hit the like button right now if you think that your family, your health, and spending time with the people you care about should always come first. Additionally, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button to enable all notifications. This story is evolving, and you won't want to miss a single update. Your assistance enables us to keep searching for the truth. Okay, I'm grateful for that. Let's get started now. We must create the scene in order to comprehend what transpired. A pressure cooker setting. According to insiders, our narrative starts on a particularly stressful and taxing day of filming for the upcoming season of Little People, Big World. The site is an off-farm, neutral environment. They were reportedly filming at a nearby location, searching for a possible Roloff family gathering, but the mood was anything from joyous. The manufacturing schedule was behind schedule, the heat was blazing, and patience was getting thin. But the issue was not just the heat and the logistical strain. According to an unsubstantiated insider source, the conversation turned to the genuine stress. A conversation that has turned into the main source of contention in this household was being filmed. Roloff Farms' future and the lingering emotional repercussions of Matt's sale decision. We are aware that Amy has been attempting to move on. With Chris, she has a new home and a new life. However, decades of history cannot be erased. The farm is more than a piece of real estate. It serves as her family's birthplace and the setting for all of her happiness and sadness. Our insider, who has worked on the set for several seasons, explained Amy's behavior that day. The insider. Amy appeared worn out before we had even begun. It was evident in her eyes. She would always acquire this hurt expression when Matt's name or the farm's north side was brought up. Although she was carrying a lot of weight, she was making an effort to be a good sport. She continued to fan herself and subtly told a producer that she felt a little elated and that the place felt stuffy. Light-colored. Stuffy. These are the earliest indicators, the tiny red lights that something is getting out of hand. Amy, a professional with more than 10 years of experience, was attempting to overcome it. She wished to avoid causing a moment or postpone the production even further, but the tension was getting worse. According to what we've been told, the particular scene had Amy and Chris talking about their own finances in connection with a new family initiative. Allegedly, the discussion shifted to a comparison between their current financial security and the potential outcomes of the farm. Producers had created a conversational minefield to elicit unfiltered emotion, and it was effective. According to reports, Amy was getting more flushed, giving shorter responses, and her patients were stressed. This is the background. A woman in extreme bodily and emotional distress, communicating her agony to anyone who will listen. Was her own husband listening? One may wonder. A terrifying time. It came as a shock, and it was frightening. Amy was standing and answering a producer's off-camera question. Her voice wavered in the middle of her sentence, according to the source. She paused after saying something along the lines of, "You know, Chris and I, we just have to focus on our own." For a brief, horrifying moment, she wavered on her feet and raised a hand to her forehead. She supposedly fainted after a crew member, a sound guy, approached her and sensed something wasn't right. The faint wasn't kind. According to our insider, she sank to the ground, her knees weakening as she fell like a heavy weight. The room was filled with a collective gasp. The producers yelled for the cameras to stop. The set was crowded with medics, who are always ready for any performance. There was mayhem, fear. During such time of extreme distress, every single person in the room automatically searched for Marek, her husband, who ought to have been her support. And what they witnessed has turned into the focal point of the whole dispute. Chris was not glancing at Amy, according to 2 different sources who contacted us. He was in his own universe, even though he was only a few steps away from the chair he was seated in. He had his head lowered, the light blue glow of his smartphone shining on his face. The insider, our main source, explained the situation in this manner. According to the insider, because it was surreal. Amy falls, and there's a pause before everyone screams. Then all eyes turn to her, and then to Chris. He was just scrolling, and he didn't even look up until the head producer literally called his name. He looked up, bewildered, as if he had just woken up from a dream, and only then did he appear to realize his wife was on the floor. The delay was noticeable. It was chilling. Filming was obviously stopped for the day, but the cameras may have stopped rolling, but the story was just getting started. The question that hung in the air, the one that is now echoing, was that by the time Chris clambered to his feet, the on-set medic was already by Amy's side. In essence, he was a bystander to his own wife's medical emergency, and paramedics were called immediately. Amy, who was reportedly conscious but disoriented and weak, was taken to a local hospital for evaluation. The simplest explanation is usually the most likely. And in this case, the simplest explanation is that Marek, like millions of people, is just hopelessly addicted to his phone. He has become so used to tuning out the world around him, including his own wife, that he was simply distracted. This leads us to our first major theory. Exclusive theory number 1, the phone addiction and the disconnected husband. This is known as the disconnect theory, and its proponents point to a pattern of behavior that we have seen glimpses of for years on the show. Consider how many scenes we have seen in which the family is having a serious conversation, and then the camera cuts to Chris silently looking at his phone. For example, during the tense negotiations over the farm in season 22, there were multiple shots of Chris looking down, as if scrolling through real estate listings, while Amy was talking passionately about her legacy. According to this theory, Chris's phone serves as his escape hatch from the unrelenting drama of the Roloff world, a world he married into but may never fully feel a part of, the constant bickering over the farm, the unresolved tension. At the time, viewers saw it as him trying to find a solution, a new house for them. But now, in the context of this collapse, those scenes take on a much darker meaning. Was he looking for a solution, or was he simply escaping, checking out from a conversation that was too emotionally taxing? According to a fan on a well-known LPBW Reddit forum who goes by the username RoloffWatcher A2, I've been saying this for ages. Maybe for Chris, the allure of the digital world is just stronger than the pull of the challenging reality in front of him. With Matt, the emotional weight that Amy carries is a lot for anyone. Chris has left. I suppose he loves Amy, but he despises the circus. His panic room is his phone. He's not a bad guy. Simply put, he is a man who is in over his head. Additionally, his sole coping strategy is to browse Facebook or Zillow. The breakdown is merely the most dramatic manifestation of his daily activities. Reduce Amy's tension. This viewpoint is persuasive and, in many respects, sympathetic. Chris is shown as a broken, overburdened man rather than a monster. His failure was the result of a long-standing, contemporary habit of digital escapism rather than malice. Even though his carelessness was unintentional, it was nonetheless carelessness. Is it too easy, though? A few references and an increasing percentage of followers think this is much more serious than just a phone addiction. They don't think the disconnect is due to the phone. It is a sign of something far more serious. This leads us to our second theory, which is far more concerning. The second theory focuses on marital disintegration and the element of resentment. Distraction is not the focus of this hypothesis. Dissension is the issue. It asserts that rather than being an accident, the on-set incident was the tangible result of a profound and increasing discord in the marriage between Amy and Chris. Behind the neatly manicured grins we see on TV, a gap has been quietly growing. We must examine the underlying pressures in their connection in order to comprehend this notion. The first is what we refer to as Matt's ghost. Regardless of his actions or his level of affection or support, Chris will always be Amy's second husband. He owns a home that he purchased with proceeds from the farm sale. His existence is inseparable from the heritage of Amy and Matt Roloff have been married for 30 years. According to our informant, this is a much larger bone of concern off camera than it appears to be. Well, Chris gets tired of it. He gets tired of every conversation, every big life decision. The insider retorted somehow to Matt or the farm, saying, "I feel like there are 3 people in this marriage," once joking to a crew member. He smiled as he answered, "Me, Amy, and the ghost of Roloff Farms," but there was a genuine annoyance in his eyes. Then there are the financial pressures. We've seen Chris be very practical, very focused on real estate. Could it be that on that day when Amy was getting worked up over the farm again, Chris didn't just tune out, but retreated instead? That looking at his phone wasn't an act of distraction, but a passive, aggressive act of protest, a silent way of saying, "I'm not participating in this drama anymore." The very scene they were filming about finances could have been a pre-existing argument. Maybe Chris wasn't just scrolling. Was he looking at their bank account? Was he stress-checking his stock portfolio while Amy, in his opinion, was getting emotional about a past life? Amy is more of an emotional decision-maker, which has reportedly led to numerous arguments about spending and long-term planning, according to sources. The outsider complex is the last one. Despite his best efforts, Chris is not a Roloff. He is always negotiating the complicated relationships with Amy, her ex-husband, their 4 children, and now their grandchildren. It is a minefield. According to this theory, Chris has given up on trying to be an insider and has instead constructed a wall around himself, with that phone serving as the cornerstone. Therefore, when Amy collapsed, his delayed reaction wasn't because he didn't see. The reason he didn't see the very real crisis that was happening to his wife in front of him was because he was already miles away, emotionally ensnared behind a wall of resentment and frustration. This is a much darker picture, one that depicts a marriage that isn't just disconnected but is actively breaking under the strain. However, there is one more theory, one that is so divisive and so sinister that many people are afraid to even speak it. We are not claiming this as fact. We are just examining the questions that are being raised in the wake of this shocking incident. The message theory is a theory that goes beyond neglect and into the terrifying realm of intent. Was it intentional neglect? The message theory. Now we enter the territory of the truly disturbing. This is what we're calling the message theory. And I want to be very clear. This is a theory that was born from the darkest corners of fan speculation pieced together from whispers and anonymous online posts. The main question of this theory is this. Could Chris be so deeply unhappy, so desperate to get out of the Roloff vortex that he is trying to sabotage the situation, either consciously or subconsciously? According to this theory, Chris feels trapped. Trapped by the show, trapped by the family drama, and possibly trapped in a marriage that is not what he envisioned. His life is no longer his own. A body language expert who regularly analyzes the show for a private Facebook group had a chilling take on recent episodes. According to this theory, ignoring Amy's collapse was a subconscious desperate cry for his own help, a way of demonstrating his helplessness or, on the other hand, a way of asserting the only power he has left, the power to withdraw to show everyone, Amy, the producers, the world, that he is not okay, that he is breaking. Professional analysis. Take note of Chris Marek's posture in recent scenes with Amy. He frequently displays blocking behavior when she talks about the farm, turning his feet away from her, crossing his arms, and creating physical barriers. His smile hardly ever reaches his eyes, all of which are classic indicators of someone who feels emotionally overpowered. The ultimate block is his phone. By staring at it, he is erecting a non-verbal wall that says, "You cannot reach me here. You don't have access to me." If this interpretation is accurate, then his inability to. The last block is to respond to the collapse. He actually did not or would not register the urgency because he was so engrossed in his defensive emotional bunker. With certain speculators, this theory takes an even more sinister turn. They pose the unimaginable question: did he witness her begin to falter and purposefully pause? Did a dark, resentful part of him want to wait for the issue to unfold so that he could show Amy and the producers the actual toll that this tension is having on them both? The idea is terrifying. Psychological thrillers are based on the notion that a husband might exploit his wife's medical issue as a negotiating chip or a cry for attention. But is it really that unrealistic in the high-stakes, high-pressure world of reality TV, where every emotion is emphasized and made profitable? According to this view, Chris is communicating. Observe what this life, this show, and this family have done to her, and observe how it has shattered me, reads the note. I can no longer do what I'm supposed to do to protect her. It's a desperate, risky, and extremely unsettling prospect. TLC's role, the family quiet, and the ripple effect. Amy is said to be recuperating at home at the time of this recording. According to a family member, she was diagnosed with severe fatigue and dehydration, which were made worse by a stress-induced vasovagal syncope. Fainting from a stressful cause is known by that medical word. However, the emotional wounds are not resolved by the medical diagnosis. Wounded from the incident. The stillness is arguably the most telling. Nothing has been seen from the Roloff kids. No public declarations endorsing their mother. No post wishing for mom's healing. Nothing. It is deafeningly quiet. Is that because they're being considerate of her privacy? Or is it because they are unable to decide which side to support since they are in the midst of a major marital crisis? Were the stories we heard from the set the same ones they heard? Do they feel upset with Chris, or do they maybe understand his situation? Tori and Zach, in particular, have been outspoken about how stressed out they are by Matt. They might have a deeper understanding of Chris's burnout than anyone else. Their lack of response can be interpreted as an implicit support for his annoyance, if not for his behavior. Additionally, the network TLC plays a part. It's a reality show, let's face it. The currency is drama. Given Amy's mental state, did the creators purposefully place her in a high-stress situation? For the sake of good, did they keep pushing till she broke? TV? A more pessimistic perspective is that this whole incident might be a fabrication, a contrived plot point for the next season. In order to create a gripping season-long arc of marital discord, the production purposefully shapes and leaks the story around Chris's neglect, even though the collapse was real. Is it feasible? In the realm of reality television, anything may happen. There is seldom a clear distinction between production and reality. However, our sources maintain that the crew's response to Chris's actions and the fall were entirely genuine and unplanned. However, it is now possible to shape and control the fallout. A marriage at a turning point. What does this mean for Chris and Amy? From the commonplace to the terrifying, we are left with a range of options. Was Chris Marks just a husband who was preoccupied? A casualty of the smartphone era who made a horrible error at a crucial time? A situation for which he is probably feeling a great deal of guilt? Or is he a man drowning in his marital and Roloff drama? Breaking under the strain who has turned inside so much that he is no longer sensitive to his wife's suffering? The darkest reading, on the other hand, sees him as a man delivering a perilous and desperate message, using his silence as a weapon in a silent struggle against the life that he believes has eaten him. We don't have the answer yet, but we do have a marriage that is unquestionably at a turning point. Amy Roloff's physical breakdown on a movie set might have revealed the emotional breakdown of her connection to Chris Marek. Whatever caused this catastrophe, there will be repercussions. There is a breach of trust. The second act's appearance of being joyful and carefree has been destroyed. We'll be looking at them with fresh eyes the next time we see them on our televisions. Every look, every touch, and every time Chris grabs his phone, we'll be scrutinizing it. Can their marriage withstand this? That is still the most important question. Is Amy going to pardon him? More significantly, will Chris ever be there in person? Or is he going to remain looking in from the outside, retreating into the light of a small screen as his wife's life falls apart next to him? This is not the end of the narrative. We'll be observing. We'll be listening, and as soon as we have any updates, we'll let you know. We only have that much time for the LPBW update today. I have to give it to you now. What do you believe to be the true narrative here? Was it Chris's fault? Was it a straightforward error or an indication of something more serious? Share your thoughts, analysis, and intuition with me. Sentiments in the space provided for comments underneath. I read each and every one. Additionally, if you thought this report was enlightening, please make sure you have all of your notifications on and like this video. You won't be able to find these unique reports anywhere else. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the upcoming video.